Jim joined me and told me a story that had to do with Maui, the supernatural, and a case of sudden blindness.
I am a massive dog lover, and for the past 20 years or so, my life has gone to the dogs. I'm one of those entrepreneurs who had a lot of early success and built and sold some companies and did all sorts of stuff. But basically, for about 20 years now, I have been focused on dog lovers and people who consider dogs, their best friends and are willing to do things for their dogs that they would never do for themselves. And over the years, people have wanted to ask, where did this passion start? And it really started when I was like a year or two old, and I wanted a dog, and I was promised that when I turned 10, I would get a dog. Well, you can imagine when you tell a kid that's basically all they have in their mind. So I envisioned, I want this little white dog, and I can see it, and it'll be this big, and and it'll sleep with me, and it'll have a place in the bed.
What was the breed that you were dreaming of?
I was dreaming of a Maltese.
Okay.
Of a white, fluffy dog. I don't think I knew that it was a Maltese, but this is what I saw in my mind's eye as a kid. And that thing drove me to be the best little boy. You gotta be. If you don't do this, you may not get that dog on your 10th birthday. So you can imagine, how excited and passionate I was to come down on my 10th birthday to breakfast, and there was this big box in front of the place setting at the table. Mm-hmm. I was like, I did think that was a little odd, because I thought, my parents are not great animal lovers, but it is a little weird to put a dog in a box. But
right.
Okay. I know. I opened it up, and it was a tape recorder. No dog. I got a tape recorder for my 10th birthday. And I'm sure that set me up for a life of psychological, lots of therapy. Well,
did you immediately turn the tape recorder on and record your sobs or your...
I did not sob, because I'm an only child, and it wasn't appropriate, because I was raised in a pretty strict family. So I did go around making tapes, which I still have to this day, where it's like, order, I love this recorder, just because I couldn't communicate the depth of my sadness in my soul for having not gotten the thing.
Well, maybe that laid the groundwork for your podcasting.
It did.
Network.
I mean, this is where I think Sigmund Freud or whoever the equivalent is today would say, I see that is the reason that you are doing this today. So
there's a little Dr. Ruth in there too.
It's true. So many years have elapsed since my 10th birthday. Many, 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 many years. And as I said, for the last 20 of those years, I have been focused on dogs. The first heart dog that I ever got was, I'm sure this will be surprising, a Maltese.
All right. Finally, you got the Maltese.
I finally got the Maltese. I'd gotten a Maltese before. I was living with this girl, and she wanted a Maltese. We ended up getting a Maltese. We broke up. It was a horrible year. We broke up. My best friend committed suicide. She took the dog. It was one of those horrible things. Oh. But on Valentine's Day, I got a Maltese, and I named it Maui, which is my favorite place on earth. And that was at a time when I was living in Washington, D.C., and just thought about, it'd be so cool to live in Maui.
And how old are you now at this point?
I'm in my 20s.
Okay, so 20s. It's been at this point 15 years of pining over this.
More like like 15. It was probably It's been a while. But I finally got this Maltese, and I loved it, and I had. I was an early .comer, and Maui would go to the office with me, and we kind of engaged in this strange activity, because I have been a lifelong meditator, which is a whole nother story. But basically, I taught myself how to meditate when I was also an equally small child, and not with any sort of dogmatic approach. Just like I would meditate. I'd go into silence and just sit. Being an only child, you do that, and Maui had this wonderful habit of jumping up on my lap when I did it, and she really liked to meditate with me, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so she got me through a lot of really rough times in business. And then we'll fast forward through this story. But basically, I ended up commuting for many years between Washington, D.C. and Maui, Hawaii. 72 trips over 13 years.
Oh, wow.
But I finally, and one of the reasons that I couldn't move to Maui earlier full time was because Hawaii had this quarantine law that said you have to put your dog in quarantine. At one point it was 90 days and then 60 days and then 30 days. And at that point I was living in Colorado. I'd sold my company to a company in Colorado and I had to be there for a year and a half. It was very cold and snowy. And I looked down at my dog one day and I said, the snow was drifted literally to the top of the sliding door. We are getting out of this place. We're going to go someplace warm. We're going to finally go to your namesake. So I helped to orchestrate a political campaign in Hawaii to enable the governor to effectively change the law that had been on the books longer than Hawaii had been a state. And in 2003, Maui and I moved to Maui.
Wow. I wonder what was going through Maui's mind at this point.
I think she really dug it.
Yeah.
And this is kind of where our scary story begins.
All right.
So 7 days after arriving here on Maui, after working really hard to get here, she goes blind, like instantly blind. Like it wasn't a waning thing but just like one day she just couldn't see.
Oh no.
And it was very odd. And then I had met like a day or two earlier on the beach, this guy who was a veterinarian. So he was therefore my vet because I didn't know anyone here. So we went to the vet and he said, no, your dog is blind. And it happens sometimes. This could be this thing or this thing. And like, just go home. And so I went home and, started to Google all the things that you can do for blind dogs. You put perfume on furniture to help them orient their way around the house. But of course, this was a brand new house that my furniture had not yet arrived. So it was a big empty house and I have a blind dog.
Oh no.
And I did the only thing that I knew how to do when times are tough, you meditate. So Maui came and sat on my lap and we meditated. And I just thought, okay, there's a purpose to all of this.
Right.
And then the doorbell rang and it was some kids and Maui shot up out of my lap, ran through the hall all the way upstairs to the door without not the way a blind dog would do it. Clearly her sight had come back, which was a really freaky thing. And so
what?
I called the vet and I said, Maui can see. And he's like, now he knows I'm just a wackadoodle person, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
People move to Hawaii who are a little touched sometimes. Mm-hmm. And there's this guy I met on the beach and your dog, I just examined. This guy went to Cornell Vet School, one of the top vet schools in the country. And he was like, I don't think so. So bring her in. I'm like, and I just paid him a bunch of money to tell me my dog was blind. And I was like, and he could tell my hesitancy. And he also thought I was weird and he just wanted to figure out what was going on. He said, well, I won't charge you. Just come in. Let me see. So I brought her in and he was like, yeah, I don't know. This is weird. I got to look this one up. So he did. And later on, we find out she has this kind of rare thing that may have been a result of all the rabies vaccine that she had to get here. So anyway, so she had this waxing and waning eyesight that I lived with. As I said, it was 7 days after we had arrived here because it was a monumental day when I arrived here in July of 2003. And I was like, I knew that was significant. And then I started thinking about the significance of 7. And throughout Maui's life, 7 seemed so important. She would do takeout, as I called it, where she would go to her food bowl. And as Maltese do, they would put a bunch of kibble in their mouth and then kind of walk a few steps away and drop it on the floor. And it was always 7 kibbles.
That's exactly how I eat, by the way, too.
It's a common thing. And you should do it with Captain Crunch or any type of thing like that. Yeah. You just reach in and put it on the floor. But she would never eat out of the bowl. She would reach in and always pick 7, which is kind of tough. I mean, could you put 7 kernels? So she she did that, and it was always a weird thing. And when she would poop, she would spin around exactly 7 times.
I also do that the same. Also, when I poop,
it's a
I do
common
7
thing.
spins.
Well,
Yeah.
I totally get it. You should talk to your mom about that. But
Yeah,
I had all these toys for Maui, and there were, of course, 7 toys that she played with. The others, the dozen or so others, never got touched. Only 7.
Right.
She would wake me up every morning at 7 a.m. She liked 7. This was a 7 dog.
Sort of her number.
Fast forward, I was here in Hawaii. I didn't know what to do. I ended up writing a book called How to Meditate with Your Dog.
Oh, cool.
And we did, I was on CNN and Jay Leno and flew on Oprah's jet and did all sorts of things to promote that book. We did an early viral video. It sort of cemented my whole, I love dogs. I am going to make my career about dogs. And it led to other things, including what I do today with Dog Podcast Network. But she always was like this 7 kept coming in and coming in and coming in. Well, as she got older, her vision did dissipate again, and she went totally blind. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I had built sort of a following among dog lovers because of the book, and we did one of the first viral videos on dogs ever. Before YouTube existed, we had
we're gonna have to find that video.
It was really a sweet thing to promote the book. Mm-hmm. And I had this big audience, and I would tell them through newsletters and through some videos that I did that Maui was dying, and this was the grieving process, and this is what. So when she finally passed, mm-hmm. It was tough, but her passing was unique. I took her to that very same veterinarian, and mm-hmm. I did not want to let her go. She did not want to go, and they, without beginning too morbid, they do the they're euthanasia, which is something that I know a lot about these days. Mm-hmm. for dogs is tough, and you give a sedative, and then you give another drug, and then the sedative puts them to sleep, and then the second drug does what it's supposed to do.
Right.
And it's designed to be incredibly peaceful and everything. And so the first drug is administered, and then the second drug, and then after the second drug is administered, there's this little bark. 7 times. 7 barks.
Wow.
That just still haunts me. I get, as we say here in Hawaii, chicken skin when I tell the story, because mm-hmm. It was just like, woof, woof. But it was 7 times. So that was her saying goodbye. And she was definitely that heart dog. I think that we all have that. All dog lovers have that one dog that means so much, and this dog had been with me through so much, and that lucky number 7 was something that just basically continued throughout and even after her life.
Oh, Maui. My dog is not allowed to die. I don't know.
I think that's a really good policy.
Yeah, I think
I tend to think that it's good for both us and our pets.
Right, yeah, just not allowed.
Yeah. I used to have a rule that I don't fly in planes that crash, and I don't swim with sharks, and I think we will add that I'm not allowed to die, and my dog's not allowed to die. I like that. Yeah, what kind of dog do you have?
So I have he's just a little Schnarrier. He's a kind of a Schnauzer Terrier werewolf mix, but his name's Weird Gary. And Weird Gary was a foster, and a foster fail. So we foster with a shelter out here in LA, and just fell in love with this first foster and kept him. But he actually developed early cataracts in one eye, and was going blind in that eye. And luckily, Weird Gary's got a little bit of a following on social media, and I did a GoFundMe, and all of the fans on Instagram and on TikTok showed up big and paid for Weird Gary's eye surgery and saved his right eye.
That is extraordinary. How much did you raise?
It was a $6,000 surgery.
Wow.
And he he was, we weren't sure of his age since he's a foster, but probably they were saying around 7 years old. So still has so much life left. We didn't want to just say, well, he'll just be blind in one eye for the next, however many years. So we thought it was worth it to try and raise the money and get that surgery done. But yeah, Weird Gary's got great eyesight now.
That is awesome. Can he drive now?
Yeah, not at night, just during the day.
Down at night. Yeah. Well, that's a good restriction. I understand the California highway.
Right. He's got a weed prescription now too, which is great.
Well, that's good because that does help with the cataracts. So that's
exactly.
Awesome, dude. It's for my dog. So I think that's amazing. I love that. We should have you in Dog Podcast Network to tell that story about Gary.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I'm also, as you were saying, I'm a dog. I don't have any children. I have a dog. So I'm one of those millennials who spends way too much money.
I'm a Gen Xer, and that's the same thing. My wife and I have. Okay, so here are the questions. So we focus on dog lovers versus dog owners. So here are the questions. Where does Gary sleep?
In our bed.
Okay, check one. You're sick. Your dog is sick. Who is more likely to go to the doctor/veterinarian?
Dog.
Okay, check two. What do you feed your dog?
Oh, he has these fresh little meatballs,
that you make.
Well, no, I don't make them by hand, but I get them at Petco. But they're like the fresh
Super
bag
premium.
food,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Check three. And come Christmas, birthday, holidays, whatever, Gary gets presents.
There's the amount of costumes that it's usually a costume, but yeah, and then some treats and stuff. But yeah, almost always a costume is purchased every holiday.
Congratulations, you have scored 100% on are you a dog lover versus a dog owner?
Yes,
yeah, that's it. That's our litmus test.
I'm glad I passed.
Yeah, and it's great, and people think of us as strange, but this is our dog, right? This is our child,
right?
As Oprah says. Dogs with people with fur.
Welcome back, Fable Babies. It's time for everybody's favorite segment, Robo Reddit Read. So let's welcome back my robot intern, Kyle.
Hello, Table Babies.
Nope, it's Fable Babies. Fable, not table. Fable as in a story. Why would we call our fans Table Babies?
Beats meat.
What? Did you just say beats meat? Gross, you frickin' weirdo. It's beats me.
As you wish.
Oh, what? Oh, stop. What the fuck? Why did you just hit me?
You told me to beat you. Ha ha.
Ah, God, that hurts, you little robot bitch. Just read the damn Reddit thread already.
As you wish. Today's Ask Reddit thread is, when I was a kid, my parents told me my dog was sent to, quote, the farm, unquote. After months of thinking she had been put down, I visited the farm and it turns out my uncle was taking care of her. Have you ever been sure your parents were lying to you when they were actually being honest?
That's how I got my dog. My friend in high school was going to put him down when he was only a couple of months old because he wasn't purebred. His mother was 100% black lab, don't know who the father was. I told him I'd take him and he's been living on our farm ever since, literally eating steaks and chasing four-wheelers every day. He even outlasted me on the farm, but every time I go home he's super happy to see me. I'll always love Jake, my dog, not some dude named Jake.
Jesus, what kind of a monster puts down a dog because it's not purebred? You should be more selective with who you call friends, Cut this puppy Hitler out of your life.
When I was about 10, my nan lived in a block of units, and when she moved out she told me that it was because the neighbors were always playing ping pong. I thought ping pong was slang for having sex. Turns out the neighbors were actually playing ping pong.
To be fair, when I play ping pong, it does sound a lot like sex. It's lots of heavy breathing, cussing, and smacking balls.
My younger sister is my half-sister. I thought my parents were pulling the "your sister is adopted" joke. Nope, my mother boinked the neighbor and we suddenly had a new addition to the family. I didn't find out it was actually true until I was 40, and her biological father died. My parents were explaining why our neighbor left money to my sister in his will. My parents are still married. My family is weird.
You know, I've never seen an episode of Desperate Housewives, but this is exactly what I imagine it to be.
Not my parents, but still pretty funny. I was at a frat partying and dancing with some guys. There was this one guy I was dancing with who was pretty bad. You could tell it wasn't his kind of thing. I like to dance with these types because I don't find frats particularly fun either, so it feels like solidarity. Between songs he asked me if I wanted to go upstairs to see the puppy. Thinking this was just a way to get me upstairs for the sex and such, I laughed and said nope. When leaving the party I went up one too many flights of stairs, got a little lost, and lo and behold there was a room with a bunch of people playing with a lap puppy. I feel bad for thinking poorly of that poor awkward dancer man.
Do not feel bad, you did the right thing. Puppy in the Bedroom is the oldest frat trap in the book. Fuck being polite, stay sexy, don't get murdered. Hey, Kyle, those were really great, man. Thanks a lot.
Not a problem. If you need more entertaining Reddit threads, just hit me down.
Hit me down? What the? You mean hit me up?
As you wish.
Oh my God. What the fuck? Kyle, you just uppercutted me in the nuts.
Ha ha ha, this is too easy.
Thanks so much for listening to #Storytime. I'd love to give another big shout out to Jim Jacobson. As always, you can find links to all the awesome stuff he has going on in the description. If you are enjoying the podcast, please leave us a review. It helps out a lot, and I literally read every single one of them. Next week is another Listener Tales episode, so give us a call at 323-741-1873 and tell us your best story, or shoot us an email at storytime@collab.inc with a little voice memo. I want to hear your tales. #Storytime is produced by iHeartRadio and Curativity Productions. Hosted by Will McFadden. Sound designed by Tony Maddox. Written by Will McFadden and Jason Shapiro. Produced by Jason Shapiro, Daniela Mora, Jordan Elijah Michael. Theme song by Scott Simons. Artwork by John Kusagai.